Hello, this is Vincent Lussenberg, and I'm a technical product manager for SaaS Labs' Backtrace solution for capturing all crashes and errors in your mobile apps. In this short video, we're going to integrate the Backtrace SDK in both an Android Studio and Xcode project to capture hangs, errors, and crashes happening on any mobile platform to one central location. We'll use our low-code open source SDKs available for Android and iOS, collect the occurrence and relevant context for handled exceptions, unhandled exceptions, hangs, crashes, and many more. And rest assured that this solution is scalable. Backtrace is built to handle millions of reports. Now let's explore how we would add the Backtrace SDK to Android Studio. As with many Android applications, this example app is built with Gradle. You just have to make sure that the minimum build version of the Android app that we're building is 21. For the rest, all you need to do is add a dependency to Backtrace Android. Be sure to check the latest version when you're doing this. And here we're syncing the Gradle project, which is going to download all the dependencies of the Backtrace libraries, any sub-dependencies under that. And that just imports the library, and now we can start integrating. Of course, we need to write some glue code to actually activate the integration and make sure that the errors get reported to the Backtrace endpoint. And in order to do that, we're going to import the Backtrace client. Of course, all of this is documented on our website. I pasted from the project settings a fairly default configuration with the token for the specific environment that I'm integrating here with a specific address. So make sure that you replace that with the appropriate values for your specific environment, which you can find under your Backtrace instance, then project settings, and then error submission. Let's go ahead and actually build this app and run it. What we see is that there's already code in this example app to generate exceptions. One of these exceptions is a simple divide by zero. And we're going to add an explicit catch here, although Backtrace can capture unhandled exceptions as well. But we're going to catch it here and add a little bit of extra metadata. So there's different ways to add metadata, but for a specific exception, I can always catch it and explicitly pass it on to the Backtrace client. And I could add an attachment, I could add a screenshot, I could add an extra attribute, such as what I'm doing here. So making sure that I've imported all the classes here. We also have to make sure that the app has permission to connect to the internet if your app doesn't have that already, which it probably does. Now we're ready to run the app. So let's go ahead and run that application in an emulator. What we see here is a simple application with a couple of buttons. There's a next previous dialog to show whether or not the application is hanging. So let's trigger a hang here. We're seeing the live debug logs from the device in Android Studio, and if we click on next, nothing happens, and that's because in fact the application is hanging. That should be reported to Backtrace as well. What we can do here is trigger a native crash, as you see, and then submit a few errors. Then that's the divide by zero that we implemented in the previous step. So let's see how we can integrate the Backtrace SDK into an existing Xcode project. The Backtrace SDK is made available as a CocoaPod, so please make sure that you have the latest version of CocoaPods installed. We add a pod file, you may have one already, and add the Backtrace pod to it. We then issue a pod install command and generate all the scaffolding that Xcode needs to build both our SDK and your existing app. So when we open up that workspace, you see our example app, the Swift files are pretty empty. It's just an example app that generates crashes. But although the pod is loaded, we're not done yet. Initialization codes is required, and this code comes straight from the website. So if within your Backtrace instance, go to project settings, then integration, then iOS. This includes the environment and the submission token. And for the rest, sets everything up basically by default, which is enough for the purposes of this demo. Within the Swift files, we have to make sure that the imports are there and everything is loaded in order for the crashes to be reported automatically. What we're adding here is basically when we explicitly catch an exception that we send that separately as well, just as for Android, we can add metadata. When we start the app and send a couple of errors and doing a crash and then start up the app again, all this information will have been submitted to Backtrace. We've seen how to integrate both the library for Android and iOS. Please join me in the next video where we will explore how these reports show up in the Backtrace UI and how we can analyze, prioritize, debug, and resolve them across hundreds to thousands of devices.